Welcome to our presentation on assessing Army retention through the lens of front-end analysis. Today, we, Luis Gutierrez, Jarrett Bearden, and Daniel Shealy, will delve into the critical importance of understanding organizational challenges and needs, particularly in the context of the U.S. Army's retention program. By applying front-end analysis principles, we aim to uncover the root causes of deviation from the Army's primary mission and propose strategic solutions to realign the retention program with its broader goals to sustain readiness on a long-term basis. To begin, let's identify the problem. In its recent audit, the U.S. Army Retention Team has deviated from its official mission statement of prioritizing long-term reenlistments and opting instead for short-term contracts. Note, the Army considers long-term contracts to be anything over 3 years. This deviation is evident in the performance gap compared to the desired end state, as illustrated on the slide. The departure from the mission raises concerns about program effectiveness and its alignment with the Army's broader goals, prompting the need for a comprehensive front-end analysis to uncover underlying issues. As shown on the slide, the data collected over 2 years indicates a gradual increase in 2 to 3 year reenlistments from the desired 10 to 15% range. Conversely, there is a gradual downward trend for the 4, 5, and 6 year reenlistment contracts, which should ideally all sit around 25%. So, why should you care? The retention program's deviation from the Army's official mission statement is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences that affect various stakeholders both within and outside the military hierarchy. It impacts the Army's ability to maintain optimal staffing levels and readiness for potential wartime needs, leading to challenges in unit cohesion, individual morale, and overall mission readiness. Stakeholders include soldiers facing career instability, command teams struggling to preserve effectiveness within units, career counselors navigating complex retention landscapes, and recruiting commands facing hurdles in attracting and retaining qualified personnel. Additionally, taxpayers, Congress, and the public express concerns about resource allocation and national security readiness. This issue operates covertly under the radar, making it difficult to accurately gauge its frequency and magnitude, yet it poses significant national security concerns. Rectifying this problem is crucial for the Army's effectiveness, as it ensures alignment with its mission, fosters soldier commitment, and enhances operational stability. By conducting a front-end analysis, the Army can identify root causes, assess the extent of deviation, and formulate targeted interventions to realign the retention program with its goals. Addressing this issue proactively is essential for maintaining transparency, accountability, and public trust in military management, ultimately bolstering national security readiness and strategic objectives. Our PESEL analysis reveals several significant points. Politically, congressional oversight and legislative priorities impact resource allocation, transparency, and accountability, potentially conflicting with the Army's mission. Economically, fluctuating conditions affect competition from civilian sectors, diminishing the pool of potential recruits. Socially, changing attitudes toward military service influence public perception. Technological advancements offer alternative career paths, reducing military attractiveness. Legally, the bureaucratic nature of government might be hindering the ability for the military to make any headway in improving current processes. Environmentally, global security threats stress the importance of adaptive retention strategies prioritizing soldiers' well-being. We hypothesize that the causes of this deviation may include inadequate incentive structures, misalignment of leadership goals with recruiters, lack of oversight, and evolving socioeconomic factors affecting soldiers' career decisions. To address these issues, we plan to conduct interviews, surveys, and focus groups with soldiers, recruiters, and leadership. Through structured questionnaires, interview guides, and data analysis tools, we aim to gather insights into retention trends, incentive structures, and leadership directives to develop targeted interventions aligning retention strategies with organizational objectives. Now that we've identified the problem, provided background information, and outlined our approach, let's explore how stakeholder analysis can shed light on what has taken place with the Army's retention program to cause such a shift in priorities. We chose to use stakeholder analysis in addressing the U.S. Army's retention program deviation because it provides a systematic framework for identifying and comprehensively assessing the interests, expectations, and influence of all relevant stakeholders. By employing this approach, we gain insights into the diverse motivations, concerns, and objectives of stakeholders ranging from individual soldiers to Congress and the public. Understanding these perspectives is crucial for us in developing effective interventions that address the root causes of the deviation while considering the needs and expectations of all involved parties. In essence, stakeholder analysis ensures that the resulting interventions are comprehensive, well-informed, and tailored to meet the requirements of the various stakeholders impacted by the issue at hand. To give the audience an idea of what a stakeholder analysis entails, here is an example. Firstly, you need to group your stakeholders. In this case, we organized our stakeholder matrix by legitimate power versus social power. Those closely affiliated with the Army Retention Program and able to affect policy directly fall within the legitimate power category, while those outside or affected by policy changes, holding external power, sit within the social power category. Once these stakeholders are organized, they are assigned a level of influence, high, moderate, or low, in relation to question number 1. How influential is the stakeholder in enacting regulatory change? As you can see, the Army and Congress rank high. Next, we note the desired level of interest by answering question number 2. How interested should the stakeholder be in achieving long-term reenlistments? Note, before moving on, it's important to highlight the difference between the first question, which asks about the power to influence policy changes, and the second question, which addresses the level of interest of each party. This distinction will become evident in the next slide when we graph these results. Lastly, we assign a current level, again high, moderate, or low, based on our front-end analysis, while adding some helpful notes as we collect data. Here, we observe that the Army at large has slowly shifted to prioritizing short-term reenlistment due to operational tempo, thus overshadowing its long-term strategy, much like Congress has done. Before moving forward, let's briefly outline our FEA plan and procedures. In our approach, we aim to gather information about the retention issue at hand, which involves examining historical data and relevant literature. Secondly, we will conduct stakeholder interviews to gather qualitative data and coordinate various meetings to compare results. Next, we will review and interpret the collected data. Following that, we'll group the information and stakeholders, as demonstrated in the previous slide, under legitimate and social power categories. Then, we'll compare feedback to determine the desired and current levels of interest. If necessary, we'll adjust project protocols and address any outliers. Subsequently, we'll establish an ongoing communication plan. Additionally, we'll create a stakeholder map, which will be presented in the next slide. Lastly, we'll commit to continuous improvements as the FEA plan unfolds. Following these steps in sequence will ensure that we have adequate information to assess the situation and make informed decisions on the way forward, ultimately improving the Army's targeted long-term reenlistments. After collecting data from our front-end analysis and incorporating it into our stakeholder matrix, we can proceed to create a stakeholder map. Using the same influence to interest categories as before, we can plot the changes before and after for each stakeholder. Notably, Congress and the Army, ranking highest in their ability to influence retention policy, are observed shifting to the left and decreasing interest over time. It's noteworthy how they transitioned from a position of high interest to a low to moderate stance. However, despite this shift, they remain highly influential in rectifying these discrepancies and are thus best positioned to help address this issue and realign the Army's focus towards achieving its long-term reenlistment goals. From this point forward, we can get into our last segment of the presentation and present our proposed intervention plan that highlights the potential causes and solutions. Firstly, to tackle inadequate communication, we suggest enhancing our communication and education efforts. This involves conducting workshops and seminars to educate leadership, recruiters, and soldiers on the importance of long-term commitments in fulfilling organizational objectives. Regular briefings or town hall meetings led by Army leadership can help in delivering clear and consistent messages regarding the strategic significance of long-term reenlistments. Secondly, in addressing the lack of attractive incentives, we propose revising our incentive structures to prioritize longer commitments. This would require investing in training programs for personnel responsible for designing these structures, ensuring they understand soldiers' preferences and motivations. Additionally, advocating for policy changes and reallocating resources within the Army to prioritize retention incentives are essential steps. By tailoring incentive packages to align with soldiers' aspirations and advocating for policy changes to support these efforts, we can encourage longer commitments. By implementing these proposed solutions, we believe the Army can effectively address the root causes driving short-term re-enlistment trends. This realignment of our retention program with the Army's mission statement will not only help us achieve our desired end-strength goals, but also foster long-term sustainability within the organization. In conclusion, front-end analysis plays a pivotal role in addressing organizational challenges and ensuring alignment with overarching goals, as demonstrated in its application to analyze the U.S. Army's retention program. By pinpointing root causes and implementing targeted solutions, the Army can realign its retention strategies with its mission statement, thereby fostering long-term readiness and effectiveness. This paper has underscored the significance of comprehensively examining performance data, stakeholder perspectives, and contextual factors to understand the complexities of retention program deviations. Through this examination, we aim to provide insights that inform strategic decision-making and guide corrective actions to enhance the Army's operational effectiveness. Continued vigilance and proactive measures are essential to maintaining transparency, accountability, and readiness within the Army. By integrating front-end analysis into organizational processes, the Army can adapt to evolving challenges, mitigate risks, and ensure the fulfillment of its mission to safeguard national security. Thank you, and we look forward to your feedback.